Hello, everyone. I'm Eric D'Souza, and you are joining us today for Crime Writer Canada's podcast, where we discuss all things crime fiction from authors from coast to coast. And joining me today is Marianne K. Miller. Hi, Marianne. How are you today?
Hi, Eric. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good too. The reason you're joining us today is because Marianne has been nominated for the Best Crime First Novel, sponsored by Melody Campbell, for her story, We Were the Bullfighters. So a little bit about her. Marianne's debut novel, We Were the Bullfighters, published by Dundurn Press, is about Ernest Hemingway's time at the Toronto Daily Star in 1923. On his first day, Hemingway was sent to cover a prison break in Kingston Penitentiary. The novel follows Hemingway and the convicts on the run. A graduate of the Creative Writing Program School of Continuing Studies at the University of Toronto, Miller won uh, the award twice for her shortlisted. Oh, sorry, I'm going to say that again. Miller won and was twice shortlisted for the Random House Award for Student Writing. Her story, Vigil Night, appeared in the Antigonish Review. Her monologue, aka Jason, is a popular audition piece for aspiring actors. A member of the Hemingway Society, in 2018, she presented a paper, Hemingway in Toronto, at the 18th International Hemingway Conference in Paris, France. Now, Marianne, I have to admit to you something, and this is still on my bio page of my personal website. When I was younger and in college, I wanted to be Hemingway.
Oh,
I romanticized about his life, but as I did my digging and learned more about him, the less I actually wanted to be him. You're a member of the Hemingway Society. What are your feelings towards the man?
well, this is why I like my young Mr. Hemingway, because I feel some of the things that you are probably referring to have not yet happened. He's still with wife number one. He's young. He's 24 years old. He's like many, many, many writers dying to get published. And he's just been in Paris, sort of got connected to some very famous writers, and then a life event kind of intervenes, and he comes back to Toronto. So actually, one of the things I like about the Hemingway Society is they don't have any blinders on about Mr. Hemingway. I mean, they see him for what he is, a flawed human being, let's say, but a great writer.
I have to admit, when I first saw your title, We Were Bullfighters, I was a little like, huh, I'm not sure. As I read it and as it makes sense and it sits in, it's almost like a Hemingway title because it's perfect. But why did you choose it?
Well, the book as a work in progress had the somewhat boring title of The Prisoner's Tale, referring to the actual prisoners and the somewhat feeling imprisoned Hemingway. Um, and just talking to the publisher, we all kind of agreed. They suggested, and I said, I don't disagree with you. I'm not crazy about that title. So we started tossing things around, and the word bull came up. And I said, well, there's a part of the novel that actually got edited out, not by Dundurn's editor, but before it got submitted, where uh, the phrase, we are the bullfighters, comes up, where Hemingway has a dream that he's in Kingston Pen and that Red
Oh,
Ryan is there and that Hindmarsh, his editor from the Star, is there. And so the bull they are fighting, as I frequently say, no bulls were harmed in the writing of this novel. The bull they are fighting is the BS in the world.
mm. I didn't even see that side of it. I saw it as him, because you say that it's him pondering if he should follow his dreams or not of being a writer. And he's already lived a lot. And it's like, am I squandering my potential? Is what I read into it. So I'm almost
Well,
like a Hemingway title. You can read into it.
well, that's good. I well, I mean, I think that's very true too. I mean, about the novel, it's about him saying, "Am I doing what I think I should do, or am I doing what I think I was born to do?" And he
Yeah,
eventually gets there.
I feel like I'm him if he took the right path. Are I took the different paths and said, no, I'm very happy with my life. Kind of seems nice. Um, to some of us Hemingway neophytes, you might have considered his Toronto years as boring. Uh, you on Amazon are characterized as biographical fiction, which I have to admit I didn't even knew existed. How much of your book is based on fact, and then how much is creativeness that you had to insert?
Well, I don't know if I could quote a percentage exactly,
No,
but
no.
I did a lot of research, and a lot of it, like a lot of uh, things that happen in the book are based on things I found in the research, both for the convicts and for Hemingway. And there are some things that I, although did not have specific proof of it, would bet money that it happened. And one example of that is Hemingway listening to the Dempsey Firpo fight at the Toronto Star. Like,
Mm,
I just could not believe he would be at the Star and not listen to that very famous fight. The convicts were a little trickier. I had a lot of the reports in the Star. I read lots of editions of the Star, but even in the Star, they say that Red Ryan was known to play with the truth quite a bit. So I was trying to find out throughout. Okay, where did they run to? What cities? And that report, which happened, at the end of the novel, with what happens at the end of the novel, would change daily. And so I just sort of went with what seemed to be the most likely, but
mhm.
very, very, very much like there's an instance where Hemingway went to cover Lloyd George, and Lloyd George visited Abraham Lincoln's son, and Hemingway made a slight error in his reporting. And I got that from a letter to the editor in the Star saying your reporter made a mistake. So there are lots of little instances that are based on true fact, but
Yeah.
some things are made up.
Oh, I was wondering, was that his first day? Like
The prison
prison
covering
break?
the,
It's like,
yes, yes.
welcome to the job.
He started work September 10th, 1923. The convicts broke out of prison the morning of September 10th, 1923. And so Hemingway went about his job all day in Toronto, and then was
Mhm.
told at the end of the day that he was going to Kingston to cover the prison break.
That's funny. I just was interviewing another reporter just by coincidence, and they don't usually throw you off the deep end like that.
Well, apparently this was Mr. It's what I've heard some actors talk about, going to drama school is where they sort of try to tear you down and build you in their mold. Well, I think Mr. Hindmarsh had some theories along that line, that he was going to like throw everything at you and see how you performed. And I think Hemingway, despite his unhappiness, always did a good job.
Mhm. Um, you've mentioned some research, and it must like you would go through newspapers and stuff like that, but researching Hemingway must be very fruitful. So it must be more than just reading cutouts of newspapers. What like fun things have you like discovered?
Letters, read letters, went to the JFK collection, or sorry, the Hemingway collection at the JFK Library in Boston,
Mhm.
where they have the man was a pack rat. I mean, he
Oh,
has baggage slips and train tickets, uh, 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 telegrams where he scribbled something on the back of the telegram. I also found, some manuscripts, and also I got Hadley's letters um, from a different place,
mhm.
and also Carlos Baker, who wrote the very famous biography of Hemingway, interviewed all the people who had worked with Hemingway in the he interviewed them in the 60s. So I got to, I think those notes were at Princeton. So I got to see all the notes of that where they, talked about, said things like he didn't like dirty jokes. It's sort of, like just a sort of odd little character thing. And then the convicts, again, the newspaper, the Kingston newspaper, the Toronto Star, and also the archives in Ottawa, all the records of the prison break and the investigations that were held into the prison break, and got to see the telegram, the first telegram going from Kingston to the head of Corrections Canada, or whatever it was called in 1923, saying there's been a prison break, etc. So that was very, it was like watching a movie, reading all these going back and forth.
I have to admit, I would have never have guessed that Ernest Hemingway would have been a pack rat. I would have thought the opposite.
No, an extreme pack rat.
Wow.
Which is kind of nice in a way.
Well, it's for researchers afterwards, it's like, thank you. How did his writing style influence your writing style? And I think every person who reads your book is going to be like, well, does she sound like Hemingway?
Well, I didn't set out to try and sound like Hemingway at all. I'll tell you, a great influence on my writing was when I was working, and I was producing something that was going to be something that the place where I work sent out. I sat with the communications person, so she and I were working on it together, and she would go through and go, don't need that word, don't need that word, don't need that word. And it really sharpened up how I wrote. So I think, in some ways people think it is a bit Hemingway-esque the way I wrote it, but it kind of was my style before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because again, I was like, Hemingway-esque is a good word. Because I'm like, okay, she's not wasting any time. That's very Hemingway. Then what comes then, or sorry, when you get success on your first book, published by Dundurn, awards nominated for it, the question becomes, what do you do next? So is it another thing on Hemingway or something different?
No, I wasn't going to continue and write something else about Hemingway. I have a couple of ideas that I'm, tossing around.
No sneak peeks?
Well, I hear that's bad luck. So
oh, okay. Fair enough then. How about this then? Without prying too much, would you go straight fiction, or are you kind of liking this nonfiction, creative nonfiction?
Well, when I started writing this, I actually was going to write a nonfiction piece. And then I found that Hemingway, when he came to Toronto, I think was so under the gun with Mr. Hindmarsh that he didn't, he wrote a lot of letters, as you probably know, but there's a big gap in his letter writing when he starts working for the Star, and that he doesn't start it again until after the baby arrives. So I was having difficulty doing a nonfiction thing, and my writing group said, maybe it's a novel, but I like nonfiction. I read a lot of biographies, so they both interest me. There's freedom in one that there isn't in the other.
True. Do you like the research?
I love the research.
Oh, okay.
Too much.
Yes. That is what every nonfiction writer tells me.
Yeah.
Is they love the
like
research.
Going on the hunt.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I hope you continue your fun. And I want to wish you the best of luck. As I tell everyone, I don't know who won the category. I'm really happy, very, very happy that 4 out of the 5 people in your category, um, best first novel, are members of Crime Writers of Canada. I'm happy for all 4 of you, and I'm rooting for all 4 of you, even though it's not possible.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for taking the time, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Very nice. Thank you for doing this.